It's another jam-packed week at MK Sportscars. We tour the workshop for project updates, including the latest on the K20 build. There's footage of an Indy RX-5 S2000 powered car taking Blyton Park Circuit by storm. Attention bike breakers, there's an opportunity to buy a Hayabusa Gen 2 rolling bike. We show you how we prepare an engine for one of our future factory builds, and tune in to see if your kit has made the production schedule. Don't go anywhere guys, you don't want to miss it.
Right guys, well I hope you enjoyed watching the Hayabusa MK Indy RR, and if you want to know more details about the cars, the range, etc, of course, jump online, look on the website, or hook us up on an email, phone call, Facebook Messenger, and we'll gladly fill you information. But what are we doing here? We're outside at the moment. Well, what have we got? We've got not one, but two of one of my favourite engines, the stonking Honda S2000. Well, what are we doing with these? You're probably asking. Well, quite simply, these are customer engines actually. So this is NMs, you know who you are, and this is PDs. So we are going to be doing what we normally do, which is detailing them, cleaning them, etc. So we're partway through the process at the moment. This one's covered in oil. It's got an oil leak at the front of the engine here, but there's nothing, no big deal. Really good compression on both these engines, good compression tests. Everything's been checked, leak down tests. So we know they're good, strong engines, but we've got to address this. So what we do is power wash them off, then start cleaning them up, and then it'll be detailed. This one's going to be black actually, and I think with orange rocker cover. This one will be the stock Honda S2000 silver with a red rocker cover. And as you can see, it goes from this stage to this stage. Well, this has been cleaned at the moment, power washed, etc. And then we get most of the grime off, and then we start working through with a series of like wire brushes, wire wheels, etc. through the process of cleaning it off, getting all of this out of it, all the oxidisation off the aluminium cast block. Like you see on the front here, nice and clean now on the front end, looking much cleaner. And once we get through that, clean all the oxidisation off, we'll go into a etch prime basically, and then onto a silver base. And then the rocker cover, well, it's kind of your choice really. I suppose if you want to do a colour theme, we like them as they are as the Hondas, keep them in the red as they always do, but they're known for peeling out the factory, so generally it's quite a good thing to do them anyway. So don't worry if you're picking up an engine second hand and it's peeling on here, pretty easy to do, and it's pretty much a common thing. So looking forward to getting those, well, not only clean and detailed, but watch the builds go progressing, whether it be a customer build this one, and this one's going into a factory build. Right, from one donor S2000 car engine to one donor motorbike engine, the glorious Hayabusa engine. Well, this was a donor vehicle for this engine, which again is going to be stripped, cleaned, gone through, detailed, etc. It's going into a factory build. So that'll be starting in, probably just over a month's time, I think that particular one does, once these ones are all buttoned up. So this engine's been stripped out. But if you're looking for a shell, this one's going to be for sale. I think 2 or 3 more to do. We've got complete donor bikes. This is a 2010 bike, very clean, low mileage. But if you're looking for something, you're looking for parts and bits, this will be available, but not the engine, electrics, fuel pump and clocks. They're all going into well, to be our lovely serviceable parts that go into making one of these bad boys that are sitting here. Again, another Hayabusa car. Right guys, from one donor Hayabusa engine into, well, this beautifully prepared RLM engine, which is a Generation 1 on Gen V throttle bodies. You've probably seen this build. It's stalled for a little bit. We were waiting for sensors. Sometimes, unfortunately, parts that are coming in do take time. I know there's some problems with even gear sets on boosters and that, getting them in from the USA. I've been told by our Richard RLM, which are taking weeks and weeks and weeks to get in. So, but now it's all running. And we've got it back up and done, and all the paddle shifts. This is running the flat shift system with the really nice machine billet paddles, etc. Full dry sump system, and our dry sump tank and RLM dry sump system on this. All the beautiful OBP polished aluminium parts in here. Indy R chassis this is, so it's a polybush chassis, but with our Cortina geometry, billet front end, cross-drilled groove discs that are on there as well. And when you fire around, it's got the beautiful DD2 dash in here, black anodized switches in here, our branded FIA approved harnesses, billet pedal box, carbon stone globe protectors, LED light pack, and a full interior 50mm cage. Well, she's just getting prepped now, so it's a little bit of dialing in, getting it prepped and ready for its IVA. So for the next few weeks, we should have a date come back, and then we can get this over the line and out to the customer, which I'm really looking forward to. Be a nice little Christmas present. Right guys, well, we're into MK Indy Classic time. This one running a, well, it's a 2004 to 2006 R15E white engine in here. Customer's got it into us. He stripped the back end down because he'd bought a second-hand roll cage to basically fit in here. So I've cut the rear hood off, but it's just a bit of a cautionary advice for you, really. This roll cage that he's purchased is an Indy R. Now, the Indy R is the inboard front suspension. The Indy Classic has the outboard front suspension. Now, there is a lot of confusion in that, and there is a difference in the chassis, and especially in the cockpit area here. We are over 30mm difference between the two. So if you take a Indy R chassis cage like this and try and put it in the Classic, this is what happens. It doesn't line up in, so I can't get any further forward. We've put these sidebars on, but there's a big plate what we normally welded down in here, right into the corner. Well, the bar doesn't fit into the corner. We'll address some of these issues, but also on the rear, you'll see here massively, this is meant to weld into a plate here. Well, it's a mile out. So basically, we're going to have to cut these bars off and put a new one on and weld it in and fabricate it. But also, this part would normally sit further inside with a plate here. We'll have to trim this and make it fit as well. So I suppose the moral of the story is here, guys, if you're looking for a second-hand cage on the marketplace, if you've got an Indy Classic, make sure it's not for an Indy R, and vice versa. If you've got the opposite way round, you've got an Indy R, don't buy an Indy Classic cage, because they don't fit. They are completely different, and there'll be a little bit of modification. And in the end, you might as well just buy a brand new one, because by the time you messed about with it, pay the labour, get it all powder coated, you probably end up paying more sometimes. So, but it's just a word of advice, really, more than anything. We'll make it fit and we'll make it work for the customer. Of course we will. We'll make it all done, but keep an eye out if you're looking at second-hand parts. Right guys, chassis time. As you know, this one landed last week. This is Mr. NM's, and we've been on with that, fitting the billet pedal box, the brake lines, the fuel lines, etc. in this, in preparation for what we spoke about earlier, the Honda S2000, which is been supplied in low mileage engine, which will get cleaned and detailed and dropped right in this bad boy engine bay here. But if you remember, the chassis schedule will be up here for you to see how the progress is being made on those. So yeah, this one's going in Ford-based S2000 engine. It's got the anti-roll bar and all the other bits on it. It's going to have the FIA cage on this, but orange. So that's going to be interesting to see how this kind of combination of cars coming out. So again, chassis schedule up there for you. You know where we are. And if you want to know more about the range, again, like I said earlier, just give us a call, email, etc., or jump onto the website and they'll give you that information. Right guys, back into S2000 time. This is JB's car. As you see, it's been progressing over the last 4 or 5 weeks now. Progressing nicely, really. Well, a few changes. Exhaust system is on. Into link pipe with the catalytic converter in here, and obviously a brush silencer in there. It's a 2.5-inch straight through system with a cat already built into here. The glorious CXRs on there with R888 boots on there. We've got 185s on the front and 205s on the rear. 6-inch wheels, 8-inch wheels, they've gone on. But we've blacked the system here. Engine bay is pretty much buttoned up. Only thing we're waiting on is still ECUs. Everything's wired up, everything's ready to go. Once that ECU comes in, it's plug and go, and then we can fire this bad boy up. I'm really looking forward to that. So interior is pretty much done. We've just got to put a steering wheel on to the quick release Boss. All the switches are done, wiring's done, gears, sticks in, gear knobs in, just the 2 gators that we've got to put in there. Whole back end is buttoned up, IVA wing mirrors going on. Then we're leading to, a bit like we've done with the other one, prepping it for IVA. So again, maybe this one might even land for another Christmas present. Right guys, before we get into the K20A build here next, well, if you want to know what one of these awesome S2000 MK Indies goes like around the track, well, do you know what, we're going to jump in and see what James did at Blyton Park earlier in the year. Guys, over at the Honda K20 this time, something a little bit different, and I know there's been a lot of interest. We spoke last week about the bonnet and fitment and under there and the chassis clearance underneath for the sump. Plenty of room, as you know. But then we've jumped into the rear end of the car this week. We fitted the carbon effect boot cover, which is here with the back rivets on there, all nicely fitted around. Now we can do these in all the roll cages really, and all the roll bars we do these for. Now, fitment of these, we've had some questions. It is in the manual, but we also did a video this week. So what we'll do is we'll share you a link down there, which will show you how these go about fitting them with a video. Then we'll move on into here. Diff's all done, as you know, the whole back end, but this is going to have a windscreen and everything else in, so we've fitted in and starting to wire up and plumb in the washer bottle. Now, the reason it's at the back here, it's a little bit tight under the engine bay to fit everything where we would normally do when we do the Mazda cars, because it fits on the driver's side, but the exhaust system for the K20A is there, and the way the plenum and everything works. So we found a new location in the boot, nice and easy to fill though, pop your boot cover and fill it up. So that'll be available if as an option. Moving into the interior. Right, interior time. Now you probably think it's all gone, it's all changed. Well, it was completely, everything was mocked up, scuttle, dashboard all cut for the clocks, etc. Well, we've got Joseph over on the bench there, doing the wiring for all the speedos, clocks, etc., all the gauges and instruments. The tunnel top here, this has all been finished with the gaiters. We've just got the handbrake gaiter to go in as well on this one, so the whole tunnel top is done. And then the steering column, yes, we have a quick release Boss one, which has been welded on as well. This is going to go on and pop on, but before we put that on, we're actually going to sleeve this section here to make it look nice. We've got rid of all the binnacle stuff for the indicators, wipers and all that for, you know, the Mazda stock stuff. So this carbon tube is going to be cut and shaped and actually slide over the column and cut through the dashboard. So that will look, I think, a little bit smarter, a little bit nicer, and a little bit more of attention to detail on the steering column there. All right, just some final details in the engine bay here. What we have done is plumbed in the oil cooler. Now, this runs a sandwich plate. We get rid of all the water to oil cooler down here, or heater, whichever way you want to call it, and we put the billet one in now. This has a little takeoff here, which we're going to use then for the oil temperature and oil pressure as well. But we've used these anodized fittings, black hose up to the 19-row oil cooler, which is fitted on the front of our radio. We've run our standard kits as well, and a few little plugs that we've had done for the water temperature sender. That's gone in here. This is a new plug that we have machined up, etc. as well. Throttle cable's gone in. A few little minor details in the engine bay, but that's pretty much buttoned up. Again, bit of wiring and ECU we're waiting on that. It's the first development one to be done. It's all been mocked up. We just sent it off, ready to be rebraided and come back in and done and plug and play with the ECU as well. So this is looking great. Don't forget, guys, plenty of ground clearance on this, and I cannot wait to hear this thing fire up. Right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and a big shout out and thanks to James for sending in the footage of him at Blyton Park in his awesome S2000 car. Now, if you've got some video footage you'd like to share with us, send it in. We'd love to see it and share it with our audience. Also, don't forget cars for sale, guys. S2000, we do have one for sale, same as this, but in white. That's on our website page, and I'm sure that I'll throw that up there for you. We've also got a supercharged striker still available, ready for you to take and do some winter upgrades and a little bit of polishing, maybe ready for the springtime. Well, that's it for this week, guys. Like, share, catch you next week.